Hi everyone, this is Koinzell here. So I finally have the TeamCom video ready. Sorry it took a bit of time because I had to catch up on actual Genshin game time. So anyway, I probably won't be that busy in the coming weeks, so I'll be able to do out more videos for Genshin. We'll do more Itto weapon comparisons. But before that, I'll probably do the Joe artifact for Albedo, because I think that was the second item on the poll. Itto TeamCom is the first, by a overwhelming margin. So first, let's talk about Itto TeamCom. Now, before we start, just bear in mind, there are multiple ways to play any character. Okay, there are many comps that are visible, but we'll mainly focus on Ultimate TeamComs here, backed by some math comparison. But before we start, I wanted to do some buff comparisons. Before we go into the TeamCom strategy and the actual TeamComs, I wanted to do some buff comparisons so that you guys can appreciate the value of some characters and what they can bring to the table for Itto. So for comparison, I will focus only on some of the notable buffs relevant to characters that will be good for Itto. In TeamCom session, I'll probably talk more about some of the buffs that are not listed here. So Gorou, very, how should I put it? The ultimate buffer for a dual DPS character, 25% defense or a dual defense DPS character. So he gives 25% defense, 350 defense flat, 15% dual damage bonus, and 40% CD at C6. Talent, you will need to level his elemental skill. Right now, these figures are based on talent level, skill level 9, and burst level 9. Although the burst doesn't really matter, burst is X. It's actually the skill. So Ningguang's buff, what can Ningguang bring to the table? Because not everyone will have Albedo, right? So Ningguang can actually give you a 12% dual bonus, dual damage bonus when you go through her Jade screen. And because she's a Catalyst user, she actually has the option of giving you 48% attack from TLDR, Trillion Tales of Dragon Slayer, which is that 3-star weapon. So easily R5. And in terms of buff, it's SSX, meaning that the talent level don't matter in terms of her buffing. Bennett's buff, okay, for the purpose of the math in my video, it will be 132% of Bennett's base attack, C1 for the additional plus 20%, talent level at level 12, which means C5, and I'm using Aquila, which is like the highest base attack weapon. Okay, that's how I'm calculating my Bennett. So I am not shortchanging Bennett in any way here. Okay. Albedo's buffs, 125 EM for a stronger crystallized shield for the case of the Itto. But Albedo actually has the option to use Freedom Swan if you have Freedom Swan. R1 versus R5, I'll include these two figures. Talent levels also do not matter in terms of the buff. So I know it is the weapon that is buffing, but the setup matters as well. Albedo makes it really easy to get the Freedom Swarm buffs, as long as you have a good character to set up the element for him to generate reactions. Okay. Now, some points to note: you can use Freedom Swarm on Bennett too, but it will be much harder to set up the two sigils, i.e. DPS loss on setup, because if you think about it, you need the dual element to be there before your Bennett attacks, so that Bennett is the one that procs the elemental reaction. So if you are in a TeamCom with, say, Bennett, Albedo, Gorou, and Itto, it's not very intuitive. You actually have to switch out Bennett, use a dual character, and then switch in. Sorry, it's dual character first, Bennett, elemental skill, dual character again, Bennett burst, then Gorou's burst, then Itto's burst. So not very intuitive. So harder to set up, and does cause a bit of DPS loss in terms of the setup time. And the other thing is Freedom Swan's attack is lower than Aquila, so your attack buff is reduced too. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it unless you don't have Albedo, you don't have any other better weapon from Bennett, because even Ally Flash, the 4-star weapon, gives a higher attack buff than Freedom Swan. Okay, so Albedo is in fact the next best character to proc Freedom Swan after Kazuha. Very easy for him to proc, with the way his elemental skill works. And the other second point I want to talk about is Gorou can buff even more with Allergy for the end, but I did not include in the math because although Allergy can give you like a 20 to 40% attack buff depending on whether it's R1 or to R5, not many folks have Allergy, that's number one. Although that may change with the current banner. Like I myself, I also got an allergy of the current banner. But also because the buff requires setup in terms of time, because you need 4 hits on your elemental skill, element bursts on allergy in order for the effect to trigger. Which means for Gorou's case, right, you cast your elemental skill, you cast your elemental skill, you cast your elemental burst, and you need to wait 2 of your elemental procs. That happens every 1.5 seconds, which means 3 seconds later, then you'll get the buff. Okay, so it is a bit more complicated in terms of the math. I did not include it. But if you are a wheel or if you happen to have allergy for the end, no one using, then Gorou is a good option. I am going to equip allergy for the end with I'm going to equip Gorou with my allergy for the end. So none, okay, one other important thing to note is that none of Gorou's buffs require him to constantly crystallize. That's a very, very important note. Only his C2 requires it in order for you to extend his burst duration, which does contribute to his DPS buffing for Itto. But at least you don't need to constantly crystallize for the rest of the buffs. And this matters because I'll talk about it later. Okay. So these are the damage figures. It's going to be a very, very long string of figures. I will just quickly run through them. I'll just run through the figures before we talk about the percentages, alright? So if you saw my previous videos, this is where we stopped. Okay, I have 12.9 million damage. C6 with C6 Gorou, and then level 9 12, which is very, 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 very high. It's like the highest damage so far. Don't include stuff like Euler, okay? Euler's 5 million damage that you see is only specific to that specific base floor and specific to certain type of setup. So that's a damage per screenshot, that's not damage per second. Oh, that's not a damage within a certain duration. So not a reliable point of reference. Okay. Now, I wanted to have these figures without Gorou here, so that it's clear if you don't use Gorou and you use, say, for example, only Bennett, what you get is a 20.4% boost at R1 and 16.3% at R5. R5 Redhorn Stone Treasure. Okay. And Ningguang gives you a 6.6%, and with TLDR it's about 13 to 12%. Okay. Now, just to recap, a Gorou alone with C2 plus, no C6, i.e. no 40% crit damage, is basically about 28%. Okay. C6 Gorou is about 42%, 1 to 42%. Just Gorou alone. This is without resonance. Okay. Without counting in resonance. Since we're going to have 3 Joe characters, I wanted to offer the view of having no Joe resonance. If you count Joe resonance in, Gorou is huge in terms of his buffing capability. Okay. Bennett is good, but not as good as you think. Okay. Gorou is still better. Even without Joe resonance, Gorou is still better. And this is C5 Bennett, by the way. The only reason it's not C6 Bennett is because I do not want to restrict myself to Pyro characters for his burst. That's all. So it is, for all intent and purposes, these are fully invested 4-star characters. Okay? And Gorou brings double the buff. Double. Okay? And with C2 plus Gorou, these are the type of figures you see, the percentage. You'll see that the percentage drops a little, which is natural, since Gorou gives like defense percentage, defense buff, etc. So naturally, it will drop a little. Okay, likewise for Bennett's buff. Then we have C6 Gorou. You'll notice that the percentage actually remains exactly the same, because that 40% crit damage is separate. It doesn't cause any diminishing returns with regards to what Ningguang with TTDODS and Bennett brings to the table. However, you'll notice that this is slightly longer because I have included Albedo with Freedom Swarm. Well, I call it Albedo, but technically speaking, the real contribution is just Freedom Swarm, because Albedo doesn't give any buffs other than C6. And honestly, the benefit from C6 is a little too low for my liking. to spend so much to get that 70% damage buff. Not to mention, it ties you to a crystallized shield, which means that you must make Gorou constantly crystallize, which is doable, which is very doable. But it just know that it has that condition. Okay, I myself, I'm even on the fence on whether or not I want to go for C2 albedo, and I'll talk more about that later. Honestly, a C0 albedo is perfectly fine. A C0 albedo with Frenzy Zone does more than, say, a C2 or C6 albedo. I'm serious, because Frenzy Zone is that good. Okay, so R1 Frenzy Zone gives you 9.7%, R5 gives you 18.9%. As for C0 albedo plus C5 Bennett, this is like an overall view, a final view, to see how high the damage is when you have a fully maxed out buff team. Of course, if it's not too fully messed up, like say R1 Redhorn with a C0 albedo with R1 Freedom Swan and a fully built Bennett with an R1 weapon, R1 Aquila will do, you still are able to achieve 13.3 million damage. It's very respectable because it's 13.3 versus 10.3. Okay. And what did we have? 17.4 million. That's amazing. Okay, so that's the damage figures. Now I'll talk about the TLDR itself. I hope that gives you guys a view on how the different buffs and different characters and items and weapons contribute eventually to the DPS figures. Now let's talk about the TLDR. Okay, so first TLDR is very straightforward. Gorou is the best buffer for Itto. Please build and use him if you're going to use Itto. I do not recommend using Itto without Gorou. You're just losing out too much. I talked about this just now, right? The next best buffer, C5 Bennett, buffs 20.4% for R1 Stone Thrasher and 16% at R5, versus Gorou buffing 28% at C2 plus and 42% at C6. A reason why I'm saying C2 and C6 is because for Gorou, between the R1 and R5 doesn't make a difference, he still buffs around this amount. But a C6 Gorou gives you 42%. A C5 Bennett gives you 20.4% if you're using R1, and 16% at R5. 16 versus 42, the difference is almost 3 times. If I compare, say, R1, 20.4%, and let's say you're not getting a C6 Gorou, it's still 28% versus 20.4%. Okay, it's still a significant difference. Now, there may be people who says that with the defense bonus from Stone Thrasher will create a diminishing return effect for Bennett's buff. You're right, it does have a diminishing return, but it doesn't mean that it's so bad that difference will contribute to this amount of difference. Okay, 20.4 versus 28. If I'm being generous and just take the highest figure for Bennett versus the lowest figure for Gorou. If I want to be absolutely fair, I should be comparing a C5 Bennett versus a C6 Gorou, or even a C6 Bennett, because C6 Bennett and C5 Bennett is C5 Bennett is okay. C6 Bennett is bad for Itto because you're gonna. Oh wait, no, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't affect because Itto doesn't get overreturn his elemental damage. Okay, so if I say C6 Bennett versus C6 Itto, C6 Gorou, it's a matter of 20 or 16% versus 42%. Do you seriously think that diminishing return will make a difference? No, it's not, man. I can tell you, even without doing the math, that for Serpent Smite, for example, where there's no attack buff, there's no defense buff from the weapon itself, Gorou will still do better. There is no way that this diminishing return from just 20% defense on R1 Stone Thrasher is going to make up for the 8% or even 22% difference. Okay? So TLDR, please you build and use Gorou if you're gonna use Itto, and he's on Itto's banner. Okay, Gorou is on Itto's banner based on leaks, based on what we know so far. Whether or not it really happens, we don't know. But if Gorou happens to be on albedo, it's still not end of the world, because pulling for albedo will help with your Itto to come. Do you see where I'm coming? Regardless of which banner that Gorou will be on, you will be able to get him. it is not an issue to pull for him. And this means, of course, you do risk not getting Itto if your resources are limited. I definitely understand that. But most signs and most signs right now point towards Gorou being on the Itto banner. So you are gonna get Gorou, okay? Unless you're super unlucky, you are gonna get Gorou. In fact, I do believe that most people should be able to get C2 plus Gorou if they are not too unlucky while trying to get a Itto. Of course, they may be so lucky that they get Itto within the first 10 pull and then they don't have any Gorou. But if you ask me, Gorou is worth pulling for if you really don't have him, even after having a C0 Itto. Because even if you get C1 Itto, it still helps your Itto. Although those pulls, technically speaking, could go into R1 Redhorn. But just bear in mind that Gorou is really the best buffer for Itto. Please try to at least get a C0 Gorou. Okay? C2 plus ideally, C6 even better. But again, remember, spend within your means. Okay? Now let's talk about Ningguang next. Ningguang with TTODS is a decent alternative for Albedo, because I know everyone is looking at Albedo plus Gorou plus Itto, which is natural because those are the 3 characters that are on the banners in 2.3. But if you take a step back and look at Ningguang with a TTODS, which is the Trillion Tales of Dragon Slayer, is a very decent alternative for Albedo. In fact, Ningguang with R5 TTODS actually buffs slightly more than Albedo with R1 Freedom Swan. Yeah, let that sink in. A character with a 3-star R5 weapon can actually buff more than another 5-star character with a R1 5-star weapon. Okay, but to be fair, the reason why, the difference is also not big. Okay, it's 11 to 12% versus 10%. Although this is actually because Ningguang herself provides the 12% dual damage bonus. Well, Albedo doesn't offer any damage buff until C6, and I did not include his C6 in my math. Because like I said, I don't think it's worth it, personally. Even as a wheel. Or semi-wheel if you want to call me that. So R5 Freedom Swan obviously will be better, 18% buff. But if you don't have a R5 Freedom Swan, you only have an R1 Freedom Swan, Ningguang with a R5 TTODS can actually buff more. But it's only a slight increase. Okay? And it's mainly because Ningguang herself gives you the dual damage bonus from her Jade screen. You need to go through the Jade screen to get that 12% dual damage bonus. However, I will need to do math to ascertain whether it's really better for the overall team DPS if Ningguang is using a R5 Skyward Atlas instead of R5 TTODS, for example, or even R5 with Sith. But R5 TTODS remains a good and cheap option. Most importantly, it's cheap. Okay, it's cheap option for buffing Itto's damage if you do not have Albedo. By the way, this is assuming you have Gorou. Okay, like I said, get Gorou. Gorou is close to a must-have for Itto, really. So damage with a full buff team, C6 Gorou, C5 Bennett, C0 Albedo with R5 Freedom Swan is looking to be around 17.4 million damage in 10 seconds of damage output, which is crazy OP, okay? It's the highest damage for all characters thus far. But bear in mind that this 17.4 million right now has not factored in the loss of buffs in the last 2 to 3 seconds of Itto buff, because when you use such a team comp, Bennett does not have a off-field reliable proc. Doesn't have it actually. So you're not going to get the buff in the last 2 to 3 seconds, which is the Gorou's buff, because you're not able to make use of C2 Gorou's effect. You're not going to be able to extend his burst. So you're not going to be at the last 2 to 3 seconds of those burst duration. You're not going to get. Sorry, there's a typo here. This should be burst. You are not going to get that buff. But it's not the end of the world, because you are still attacking with Itto. Okay, it's not that you are stopped attacking. It's just you just lose the buffs. You still do damage. Okay, but bear in mind also that I have not factored in C6 Albedo buff. I have not factored in allergy buff. Okay, it's not like the 100% full max damage that you can achieve. So I'll say it will eventually average out to be around this figure if I factor those into as well, maybe even more. So I hope this gives you an idea of his maximum damage potential. If you're watching my video and you want to invest and go fully on them, by all means go ahead. This is the type of figure you can expect. It's about 174k per second of damage. Which, if I average out the Kesa swing, you know what? Actually, I don't need to average it out. I can just check the figure. So let's see. AC6. Why is it R1? Okay, ignore the R1 here. It's just this is Kesagiri. Okay, because I changed the format previously. So my Kesa, on average, is dealing 89k. Every swing, I'm dishing out almost 90k damage. The 187k is on the Kesa final attack, final slash, when you run out of stats. Or your last stack rather. 90k per swing. That's freaking crazy. Okay, it's freaking crazy. 90k sometimes it's like a character's burst damage. Sometimes, obviously not always. But you get where I'm coming from. Okay, per swing and 2 swings a second. 180k per second. Wow. But okay, like I said, it's real territory. Now let's talk about team comp strategy. Okay, I want to move on faster. We talk about team comp strategy, then we'll talk about team comps and some final notes. So TLDR, I've gone through for the buff comparison. I hope you guys see that. Okay, first slot, Itto, Unga Benga DPS, nothing to say. But I do hope that you guys see that Gorou is the ultimate Joe buffer and you must build, and I shouldn't say must, but you really should build and use him if you're using Itto. And if you want to optimize. Obviously, if you don't want to optimize, then by all means use whatever characters you like to, right? But if you are looking to optimize, then you use Gorou. Okay, don't give me any excuses. Use Gorou. That's it. That's how important Gorou is to Itto. Okay, third slot. I'll talk about Joe characters. Thankfully, there are only 4 Joe characters in the game right now. So let's talk about Albedo first. Albedo actually synergizes with Gorou, not Itto. So technically speaking, he's not a must-have for Itto. In fact, I would say Gorou is more of a must-have than Albedo. For Itto anyway. But if you give Albedo Freedom Zone, it does allow him to buff. And Albedo has better energy regeneration than Zhongli, but it's still RNG. If you don't know how it works, Albedo is 67% chance to proc, I think. It's about 67% chance to proc. Per proc. 67 chance to give you an energy particle, 1 energy particle per proc of his elemental skill. So if you want to make, but the thing is about Albedo, right, is that if you want to make use of his C2, his burst should not be used on the first Itto rotation, only the second onwards in order to get the 4 stats for C2. Because you get a stat once per transient. Should I call it Bloom or Blossom? I forgot what's the exact name. I think it's Blossom. Transient Blossom damage, which is his elemental skill proc. So you proc once, you get a stat. Proc once, you get a stat. You need 4 stats. Okay, 4 stats. So his burst actually requires you to build up. So his 125 EM for stronger crystallized shields can't actually be utilized until the second rotation onwards, if you have C2. Okay. This is actually the reason why I'm on the fence on his C2. The good thing though is the stat lasts 30 seconds. So you can bring it to the next fight. Not the Abyss next 4, sorry. I mean the next fight. Example, in the Labyrinth Warrior event, as you go from room to room, it will carry. Because 30 seconds is definitely not enough unless for some reason you don't go to the next room within 30 seconds. Okay? So this is the gist of Albedo. Albedo is good in the Itto team comp because he synergizes with Gorou. Gorou gives him the buffs to make him a good sub-DPS, Joe sub-DPS character in the Itto team comp. Now let's talk about Ningguang. Ningguang is a hidden 5-star character. If you don't already know, she is a hidden 5-star DPS because her damage is higher than a 4-star character. It is like a 5-star character. Not a top tier 5-star character per se, but average, I would say. An average 5-star character. But that's very good, right? Because as a 4-star character, she's able to deal that type of damage. She has 3 important thresholds, C2, C3, C6. I do hope that you have C6, because if you have C6 Ningguang, she's very enjoyable to play. And I think, if I didn't remember wrongly, I didn't do the exact math for this, but in her entire combo as C6, right, her total damage output is something like 3000 plus, almost. It's high 3000 plus damage percentage. Okay? This is really good. Now, let's talk about her battery ability. Because you notice that I also talk about Albedo's battery ability. It's kind of RNG. But for Ningguang itself, she actually has the option to go beyond that. She has 2 different type of combos. If you see the underlying sections, she has a optimal battery combo, which basically you need to recast it after 6 seconds if you have C2. So combo is you cast your E, which is your elemental skill, cast your burst, you wait 6 seconds and you cast your elemental skill again. That way you will get 6 particles. 3 particles each, so 6 particles. Which will definitely be more than Albedo. Albedo on average, during Itto's burst, will probably give you about 3 energies, particles. If I factor in the RNG, etc., just to average it out. But the problem with this combo is that Itto's downtime, even without Itto's C2, is 7 seconds. 11 seconds burst duration, 18 seconds cooldown. So 7 seconds of downtime. So Ningguang will take up too much time with this. But there is a way to make this work, obviously. Swap out. In the 6 seconds, swap out, cast your other stuff, other character stuff. Cast your Ningguang again. It's doable. Okay? It is doable. Just to note, okay, just to note how about the time. You need to be careful with the time management if you want 100% uptime. Optimal DPS combo will be EQE and add a charge attack if you have C6. Likewise for here, right? If you have C6, always use a charge attack immediately after her burst. Now, which combo to use really depends on whether you have 100% uptime with the optimal DPS combo. If you have, just use the optimal DPS combo. But as a Catalyst user, she offers TLDS, right? So TLDS will work very well if you're going to use her optimal battery combo, because it's like you make her into a support character that gives battery, that does attack buff, and also some damage. I say some damage instead of nice damage because you're using TLDS. If you're not using TLDS, you're using some other weapon, it might be better for the overall team comp, or rather overall team DPS. But I need the math to compare, and the problem is I have too many other math videos in the pipeline, so Ningguang is not going to happen anytime soon, honestly speaking. I have to do the new artifacts for Albedo, the new dual defense artifact for Albedo. I want to do weapon comparison for Itto, like WGS, let's throw in WGS, what other 5-star weapons, Skyward Pride. Unfortunately probably won't be that good for him. Yeah, and then I also need to do Redhorn for other Claymore characters, right? Because finally we get a Claymore with crit damage. So yeah, I have a lot of math videos in the pipeline. Okay, moving on to the next dual character, Zhongli. Zhongli, OP Archon Shield with Resistance Threat. Enough said, I don't need to say anymore. Okay, but seriously speaking, since Gorou provides Crystallized Shield, and Itto has such high defense, Zhongli Shield is likely going to be overkill, unless you are using Serpent Spine, and I'll talk more about that in the Team Con session. But without Serpent Spine, Zhongli Shield is likely overkill. And not to mention, Zhongli's bad energy regeneration is not that great. Okay? If you use Zhongli together with, say, Gorou and Itto, you may run into an issue where you might need some ER on Itto. Okay? Noelle, okay, no synergy and she takes up way too much field time. Not recommended at all. Don't even think about her if you're going to use Itto. Okay? Very straightforward. Now let's talk about the 4th slot. I'll run through in-game on the characters, but before that, let me just quickly talk about this, right? Any sub DPS with a good off-field damage and application, elemental application, will do nicely. And it's best if their energy requirement is taken care of without a battery, because remember, you're having 3 Joe characters with 1 other element. So that 1 other element character must be someone who's able to do their burst on each time on your rotation without a battery. And I'll talk more about how to achieve that. And if they can provide a buff, that would be even better. Say example, C4 Rider with a 30% attack boost. I know it's a bit weird territory, but that's the first one that came to my mind, so I just stated it out as an example. But I hope it helps you guys appreciate, right, how to decide which star DPS you use. It's a very, very flexible spot, honestly speaking. So you can pretty much put one of the characters that you have built that is a sub DPS character, sub in terms of off-field, good off-field damage and elemental application, and just slap that character in. Somebody like, say, Fisher. Okay, let's go in-game. Talk more about the characters themselves. Wait, sorry. So, Kazuha, not a good option. Animal characters in general is not a good option for the Itto comp, and I'll talk about that at the in the final notes. Sarah is doable. If you want to use Sarah for her attack buff, it's doable, but she doesn't really have a good off-field application, so I wouldn't recommend using her. Raiden, yes, Raiden is good because of the elemental skill. She can offer you a very consistent off-field DPS. Every 0.9 seconds she can proc. The fastest. Every 0.9 seconds she can proc her elemental skill damage. The burst damage buff that she gives, Itto can't make use of it because Itto's burst is a stance mode. She goes into a stance using his burst. His attacks, his Kesa is charge attack. So the bonus burst damage coming from Raiden's elemental skill, the elemental burst damage bonus, is not going to help Itto, but it will help other characters like Gorou and Albedo or Ningguang if you're using them, which you should be using either one of them. I mean, even Zhongli helps, right? Zhongli's burst. So Raiden is a good option. And the thing about Raiden is that she does not need a battery to help her, because her entire kit is built around ER. If you have her built, she should have ER. Like for my character, I have 308.9%. You need plus 50 because I have R5 engulfing. If you don't have R5 engulfing, if you follow my previous Bell or Raiden math videos, you are supposed to get at least 200% ER. And 200% ER should be enough, okay, for you to be able to use your burst consistently. But here's the thing, Raiden's elemental skill is the skill that does the off-field application, not her burst. So yeah, you're in a good spot, man. Either way, just use her elemental skill, and her burst can be used during the downtime for Itto. Again, not the best since her burst lasts 7 seconds. I can't see a duration here. It's too many points. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's there. Okay, Muso Ishin duration 7 seconds. And how long is Itto's downtime? 7 seconds. So this is not that great. You do sacrifice a bit on your Itto's time. But if your Raiden is fully built, it's not a real DPS loss. Okay, it helps. And let's see what else is there that she buffs. Right, her C4, like I said, if you happen to have a C4, if you went all out on Raiden, like me, then you can get a 30% bonus attack as well. Okay, I'm just going to quickly run through, I'll try to go faster in terms of running through the characters. Zhongli, I will talk about here. Him. Hu Tao, not great because although she is like a main DPS that lasts for a short duration, that duration is still longer. That duration is 9 seconds. So it's even longer than Raiden's burst in terms of like rotating between them. Although there is some benefit to C4 Hu Tao giving crit rate to Itto, but I don't recommend using Hu Tao. She's not that great of a sub. DPS, off-field sub DPS. Albedo, I'll talk about. Venti is an animal. Eula, no. Eula is the main DPS. Ganyu, yes. Ganyu is a very good sub DPS as well, especially her burst. In particular, her burst actually. And with C2, yeah, C2, you can pretty much guarantee that you will always be able to cast a burst. Okay, if you don't have C2 Ganyu, at least C0 Ganyu, right? With a bit of ER, she's still able to cast her burst very, very consistently. So your sub DPS is always there. And it lasts for 15 seconds, which is longer than Itto's burst. So yeah, Ganyu is OP. Ayaka, no, not a good off-field applicator. Keqing, no. Electro Traveler, no. Okay, Electro Traveler, yes, her burst or his burst is, and he helps with a bit of energy recharge, so viable option too. Kokomi's elemental skill, yes. The jellyfish, it will help. Yomiya, no. Childe, no. Dilute, no. Noelle, no. Lingguan, I'll talk about. Rosara, yes. Rosara is a good option to pair with Itto, because her burst procs every 2 seconds, which will help with Albedo's proc. But anyway, you're attacking with Itto, so you will always get Albedo's proc every 2 seconds anyway. But Rosaria is an example of a character where you can build her to have high ER. Mine has 193.7% ER. So I gave her some high ER and she'll be able to use her burst consistently, and it works and synergizes very well with Gorou's burst. And she has the added benefit of giving crit rate to her team members. And what does Itto needs? To need 100% CR. If you're using Redhorn Stone Treasure, or if you have C6 Itto on other characters, or if you are using a crit rate weapon like Serpent Spine, or a crit weapon like Serpent Spine, with a C6 Gorou, you should still target 100% CR, as per my previous video. So how does this help? This helps very greatly, right? Because all you need is, say, 67% CR on Rosaria, and you'll be able to give 10% CR. Obviously, if you go more, you can give more. Like for example, I have 70%. That's base. If I use my elemental skill first and manage to go behind, I get a 12%. That's 12%. 15% of it goes to the teammates as well. Okay, so cast your elemental skill, cast your burst, you will be able to give 15% of, in my case, 70 plus 80 plus 12% CR. So 82% CR. 15% of 82% CR will be given to the team, which gives to Itto, Gorou, and either Albedo or Ningguan. You can do Zhongli, but like I said, not that preferred. Okay, so Rosaria is a very, very good example of a good character. Diona's burst is very energy hungry, and the downtime is long. The downtime is fine since Itto's is 11 seconds. The downtime is 8 seconds, so it's fine. As a proc, it's not too bad as an off-field. You can also use a shield. A shield is helpful. Not too bad, not the most ideal per se, but not too bad. Okay. Especially if you have C1 Diona. C1 Diona makes her less energy hungry. And I guess if you have C6, you get additional EM, 200% EM, which helps with the crystallized shields. Not the best option, but feasible, Diona. Fisher, very nice option. We all know that Fisher is one of the best sub DPS. And if you have C6 Fisher, you are going to be able to deal an additional 30% of Fisher's attack as an electro damage every hit with our dear Itto. That's a lot of hits and that's a lot of damage. I actually really like Fisher as the 4th flex slot for Itto. Okay? Very nice. And if you use a weapon like Ally Hunter, which is perfect for her as a sub DPS, it's gonna be even better. Okay. Artifact. No, okay, I'm not gonna go into the artifacts of the characters, but it's not a high requirement per se. Right? Beidou, okay, Beidou is also very good, but Beidou has one big issue, which is her energy requirement. She's very energy hungry, so your ER will have to be really high. And one way to achieve that, I know I'm using 4-piece Tandus over here, but one way to achieve that is actually to use 4-piece Emblem, so that you use ER to give you damage, and you use ER to ensure that she can constantly proc her burst. If she can use her burst frequently enough, she will be a very good option to work with Itto, because her burst is just wonderful. Not to mention, I love the dragon, the sea dragon going around her in her burst animation. So yeah, Beidou is a good character if your Beidou is using 4-piece Emblem. Otherwise, unlikely that you have enough energy without risking too much damage, because you have no battery, no electro battery, if you're using her as the 4th character in a Itto team comp. Okay? Xinqiu, I don't think I need to say this, right? This is definitely good. No, zero doubts in my mind that Xinqiu is one of the best options as the 4th flex slot. Okay? And my Xinqiu does have 4-piece Emblem. He has 200%, 30% ER. I mean, granted, I could go with lower ER and get higher CR CD, but it's fine since I'm using Emblem. And most of his damage for me is for the burst. Purpose of him is for the burst. I know a lot of his damage comes from his elemental skill as well. But an example of a character that can work perfectly fine in Itto comp, very well in Itto comp, is a character like Xinqiu with 4-piece Emblem and a ER weapon. Okay? Works very, very beautifully. And not to mention all the effects that he gives, right? Where is it? Yeah, here. Where you get the resist reduction, you get damage reduction as well. This is very, very nice. Okay. Yanfei, no, not a good sub DPS option. Even if you want to try to use her C4 for the HP shield, no, not a good option. Bennett, I'll talk more about Bennett in the when we go back to the spreadsheet itself. Bennett is a bit of a special case. Xiao, no. Jin, not really, unless you want to use her healing bursts. Chi, yeah, just an elemental skill, not that great. Mona, her taunt, but it's not 100% of the time, so not that great. I mean, the jellyfish, Kokomi's jellyfish lasts longer. Clean, for the mines, no, not that great. Sayu, for her burst, no, because she's animal. Animal, no. Chongyun, not that great too. Lisa is okay. Chong is doable, but not that great. Lisa is okay. Xinyan for her Pyro shield, OD if you have 4-piece TOTM on her to constantly have that shield, then constantly have the proc. Xiangling, excellent choice for her Pyro Nado, but you do need to have ER on her. My Xiangling is not perfectly built, I know. Okay, she's one of my most neglected characters. Yes, F2P characters will all kill me. F2P players will kill me for this, but yeah, my Xiangling is not fully built. Okay, I know 34.6% CR is low, but remember I'm using catch. I focus more on her ER. I'm using 2-piece Crystal, 2-piece Gladiator. So obviously my Xiangling is not fully optimized, but if your Xiangling is fully optimized with high enough ER, such that she does not require a battery, then she will be a very, very good option in the Itto team comp. Thoma is also a very good option because the way of his burst works is that he always generates those flames every 1 second. So it's really good. Thoma is actually a very good option, and Thoma gives you shield as well. I'll talk more about Thoma for Serpent Spine later too. Abra, the elemental skill is really okay if you want to. Amber not that great unless you want to use the burst. Keiya's burst is nice though. If you have a fully built Keiya, it's doable. Okay? So yeah, I've gone through all the characters as the flex slot for Itto's team comp. Let's talk about Bennett. So if you're not concerned with extending Gorou's burst through his C2, or maybe you don't have his C2, or you don't even have Gorou, you can actually use Bennett for even more Itto damage. At least for the first 7 to 8 seconds of his burst. Okay? It's the way it goes is that if you're using Bennett without the moment you use Bennett, you're not going to be able to extend Gorou's burst. Unless you're so lucky that some other elements happen to be on the enemies. Like for example, if you're against a bunch of treasure hoarders, one of them throws their granite bombs, right? You can apply the element on the other enemies, and that will help you to get crystallized, and in turn extend your Gorou's burst. But it's very, very unreliable. Or if you're against slimes, slimes will always give you the crystallize option. Okay? But if you do not have Gorou, I strongly advise against not having Gorou. Okay, you really lose on so much damage if you only want to use Bennett and no Gorou. I already showed you. Okay, C6 Gorou is 41 to 42%. C6 or C5 Bennett is 20%. Okay, so now that we've finished talking about the team comp strategy in terms of the 4 slots, let's talk about some of the team comps that I personally think are not bad. Couple of categories. So a full buff comp will be Itto, Albedo with Freedom Swan, Gorou, and Bennett. Okay? Yeah, I know I have a Bennett in here. So like I said, right, this full buff comp is a comp where you're not concerned with extending Gorou's burst to its maximum duration possible, the C2 effect. You're concerned with dealing more damage upfront. So effectively, if you're able to kill something within the first 7 to 8 seconds of Itto's burst, this comp will work very well. This also means that if you have enough damage, it will work very well. Okay. It's a little into real territory if you ask me. Yeah. To make sure that you don't suffer from the loss of buffs. But honestly, it's not that bad because although you don't get your buffs expire, you still are hitting very hard with Itto. Okay, you are still able to hit pretty hard with Itto. Now, some good cons, 2 of them in fact, will be Itto, Albedo, Gorou with off-field sub DPS. Any of the ones that I mentioned just now, they are good. Okay. Itto, Ningguang, Gorou, and off-field sub DPS. Again, any of the sub DPS that I mentioned that are good earlier. Fisher, Keia, Xiangling, Lusaria, and so on and so forth. Okay, just to list a few. So you notice the real difference is really between Albedo and Ningguang. Okay, whether you want more burst damage or more off-field damage. But if you ask me to be fair, right, based on what we have now, the current state of the game, Ningguang will be able to do more damage if you're using a 5-star weapon. I mean versus Albedo. But if you're using Ningguang with TLDS, then I don't have the figure. I don't have the feel of whether Albedo will do more damage on Ningguang. And bear in mind, I have not done the math for Albedo with the new Geo artifact as well. He may deal more damage with that, and also his new weapon, the new 4-star weapon. He may deal more damage with that, right? Now, niche comp for Serpent Spine. I don't know, I find it funny when I look at this comp, right? Because it's like 3 characters that provide you shield. Itto, Zhongli, Gorou, Thoma. Because if you saw, when I went through the characters on the flex slot, I talked about Thoma as well. Thoma is actually very good in terms of the applicator, enabler, and he gives you shield. Gorou is gonna give you shield, Pyro crystallized shields with Thoma. Zhongli is gonna give you Jade shield. Okay, I'm pretty sure with this you will not have to dodge to maintain your max stats of Serpent Spine. So that's why I say it's a niche comp. The only potential problem, like I said, right, is by using Zhongli here, together with Itto and Gorou, I don't know whether you will have enough Joe energy to have 100% Berserker on Itto. That's all. That's my main concern when it comes to Zhongli. Okay? Now let's talk about some feasible but not that optimal comps. Basically, it's any comp without Gorou. I'll be upfront with you guys. It's any comp without Gorou, to me, it's not 100% optimal. So Itto, Ningguang, Zhongli, Bennett. Doable. 3 Geo with a Bennett, and like I said, you focus on buffing, right? And then you have Itto, Zhongli, Bennett, Thoma. So you kind of going for a mix here, double Geo, double Pyro. Like I said, not the most 100% optimal, but feasible, especially if you don't have that many Geo characters built. Because I know most people neglect their Geo characters, right? Another option, Itto, Zhongli, Albedo, Bennett. Pretty much the same as this, just changing Ningguang and Albedo. But seriously, if you have Itto, Albedo, Zhongli, you are someone who do have quite a number of 5-star characters, please go and get your Gorou. Okay, please go and get Gorou. Can't repeat that enough. Now, Itto, Ningguang, Zhongli, Raiden. I've mentioned Raiden earlier in the flat slot. If you do not have Gorou, you can put a Ningguang in here and just spam your burst. It's more like you're going for a burst spamming mode. Ningguang, Zhongli, Raiden when you're out of Itto's burst duration. Not 100% optimal, like I said, in terms of your Itto's damage, but it's fun, right? At least you get to spam on your burst. It's fun. At least it's fun. Okay. Now, these are just a few that I thought of. The not 100% optimal list obviously can have a lot more permutations since they are not optimal but feasible. The list will go on on and on. It's just too long. But at least in terms of optimal, these two are very nice. If you have Serpent Spine, you want to make sure that you don't dodge at all, you can use this. You want to go for a full buff comp, you can go for this. Okay. Right. I think I did not mention one quick thing, right? If you're going for this full buff comp, right, especially with Freedom Swan, right, you have to be careful with your Freedom Swan procs, because you want Albedo to be the one doing the procs. Okay. So technically speaking, you should use Bennett, cast his elemental skill, use Albedo, cast his elemental skill, you get 1 stack for the Freedom Swan. Switch back to Bennett, cast his burst, switch back to Albedo, cast his... Sorry, I paused a moment because I was trying to think whether his elemental skill will be ready by then. No. You might need to cast his burst. Oh no, sorry, you don't need to. You just cast Bennett's burst and wait for Albedo's proc. Yeah, sorry about it. You just cast Bennett's burst and wait for Albedo's proc. You should not use Gorou before Bennett, because if you use Gorou before Bennett, Bennett is going to be the one that trigger the crystallize when Bennett casts his burst. Okay, so Bennett's burst, wait for Albedo's proc to happen. Albedo will get the stack. If Albedo proc doesn't happen, you can still switch back to Gorou, cast Gorou's skill. Oh sorry, Gorou's burst. When Gorou's burst deals damage, Albedo's effect will proc, because Albedo's effect proc based on enemies taking damage. Okay, so with that, then Albedo will get the second step for the Freedom Swan and provide the Freedom Swan buff. Okay, just a quick note on that. Now let me talk about final notes. Oh my god, how did this video get so long? I wanted it to be half an hour. Okay, so some final notes. Energy generation wise, if you average out Albedo's chance to generate versus Ningguang's DPS combo, it's likely going to be the same. 3 particles in Itto's burst duration. If it's Ningguang's battery combo, it's going to be 3 versus 6. Although I need to test it out along with Gorou to be sure whether or not this is sufficient energy in terms of Itto. But personally, I will likely use Albedo since I have R5 Freedom Swan and Gorou buffs Albedo as well. Okay. Now, you may notice that I did not include any animal characters here. The reason being animal has 0 reactions with Childe, not even crystallize. So you can't even utilize Gorou's burst if you're going to put animal character on the 4th flex slot. The only benefit of animal will be the pulls, pulling in the enemies so that your Itto can whack them. But here's the thing, Venti's burst, Itto may not be able to hit every mod on it. Okay? If you know how Venti's burst work, if you have ever tried to use a melee character, normal attacks on enemies that are caught in Venti's burst, you'll notice that you are missing most of the time. But the Kesagiri animation are upward swings. They are diagonal upward swings, left and right, so they may be able to hit in Venti's burst. But not having any reaction with Childe is already a big deterrent to using Anemo as the 4th flex slot. Okay. Kazuha's damage buff can't work because again Joe has no reaction, so you can't prot a reaction to give the Joe buff to Itto. And since there's no Joe anymore reaction, you also can't prot FS on Freedom Swan on Kazuha reliably without the element. Sucrose EM buff is just better crystallized shields, although Sucrose has a nice pool, or rather a decent pool, but her giving EM buff and just for the pool is not a strong enough justification for her to take that 4th slot. Well, the silver lining is that we may get other Anemo or Joe characters in future with pooling abilities. I'm not sure, but I remember reading something about Ayato having as a Hydro character with a pool ability. But since that character is still so far away, whatever that we hear now has to be taken with not just a pinch of salt, but a whole tub of salt. So yeah, that's that. So these are the final notes I have for the team comp. I hope whatever I've shared in terms of my analysis and my input is helpful to you guys. Okay. The only thing I really want to emphasize is get Gorou. Get and use Gorou if you're going to use Itto. Okay. If you're going to complain that Gorou is a niche character, remember that he can also help defense characters. Okay, I know that other defense characters may not get a benefit from the Joe damage bonus that he provides, but at least the rest of his buffs do work that way. And besides, why would you want to use Gorou with someone else when he's designed to be used with the best Joe DPS in the game so far, or come into the game so far? So yeah, that's my point. And I already fully shown you guys Bennett versus Gorou. If you still want to use Bennett and not Gorou, that's on you, man. I have nothing else to say. Use what you like to use. Alright? So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next video. Next video will probably be the new Joe artifact on Albedo. Okay? Although it will be faster if I do the weapon comparison for Itto. Maybe let me know in the comments what you guys prefer. But I'll probably do the Albedo artifact first. Alright, if you like the content, remember the video and click subscribe for more. And I will be streaming a bit more regularly on Twitch, so come and check me out while I try to catch up on 2.2 because my Zerumi Island is not fully is barely explored. Okay, bye.